Good evening and a very warm welcome to RTM News. My name is Vicky Lee White and I'll be bringing you all your top stories tonight. Let's start with the South African news headlines. Technicality frees alleged child kidnapper. Alleged Rolex gang member shot dead. Murder suspect arrested at work. And sardine run looks promising, says KZN board. And the top story, technicality frees alleged child kidnapper. A woman who admitted to kidnapping a Katlehong child and keeping him captive for 5 months is walking free because police possibly botched the case against her. The woman was arrested last week when the 6-year-old boy's father saw him while on his way to a local spaza shop in another part of Katlehong, about 15 kilometers from where he was snatched. I quote, a 28-year-old woman was arrested at Spandla Informal Settlement and the suspect was taken to court. Unfortunately, the case was not put onto the roll due to technicalities, so investigations are still going on in the case, says Constable Mega Ndobe. He said he could not divulge the details of the technicalities. In the meantime, the woman was set free. Alleged Rolex gang member shot dead. An alleged member of the so-called Rolex gang has been shot dead outside a nightclub in Marlborough, Gauteng police said today. Moses Maleka was shot several times while sitting in a car, Colonel Lungelo Dlamini said. I quote, he was taken to hospital by a friend where he died. No arrests had been made. Maleka was out on bail at the time. Murder suspect arrested at work. A man was expected to appear in the Mandeni Magistrates Court today for allegedly killing a man and then escaping from custody, KwaZulu-Natal police said. The 25-year-old allegedly stabbed Lungisani Kumalo, 23, in the neck at a tavern in the Sumdumbili area on May 4th after the two had had an argument the previous day, Mayor Tulani Zwane said in a statement. Kumalo died in hospital. The alleged killer was arrested but then escaped from the Sumdumbili police station's holding cells. And in the final South African story, sardine run looks promising, says KZN board. After 2 years of no sardine run, KwaZulu-Natal fishermen can brace themselves for a good catch as the sardines hit the KZN coastline. I quote, it looks very promising that we will have a better run this year, said KZN Sharks board Mike Anderson-Reid yesterday. He said there had been a substantial increase in sardine activity on the KZN coastline over the past few days. That's it for the South African news tonight. Let's go for a quick break and I'll be back with the rest of your African stories.
The worshippers, in conjunction with instruments of praise, present Polydipsio Worship Concert, a night with the King, a night of a lifetime. Guest artists Sipokazi, James Okon, John Karomi, Shegun Alade and friends. And the time is 5 p.m. The date is Sunday 14th June 2015. The venue is at the Masters Place, number 4 Commercial Avenue, Street Park, Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. An unquenchable thirst for more of Him. Powered by Rtm and the Redeemed Christian Church of God. The host is the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Southern Africa Region 2. See you there.
Worship His holy name.
Welcome back to RTM News. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the African stories. Let's start with the headlines. Africa creates biggest trade zone. Kenyan teachers blacklisted for sex with students. UN peacekeepers barter goods for sex. And suicide attack outside Karnak Temple in Egypt. In the top story, Africa creates biggest trade zone. African leaders have agreed to create the continent's largest free trade zone, covering 26 countries in an area from Cape Town to Cairo. The deal signed in Egypt is intended to ease the movement of goods across member countries, which represent more than half the continent's GDP. Since the end of colonial rule, governments have been discussing ways to boost intra-African trade. The poor state of roads, railways and airlines have made it difficult. 3 existing trade blocs, the South African Development Community, the East African Community and the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, are they united into a single new zone. In the next story, Kenyan teachers blacklisted for sex with students. Kenya's authorities have banned 126 teachers for gross misconduct, most for sexual abuse of their students. The governing body said the teachers would not be allowed to teach again. They were found guilty after a disciplinary process, the Teachers Services Commission said. A Child Welfare Society of Kenya has urged the Director of Public Prosecutions to ensure those convicted are imprisoned to protect other children in future. UN peacekeepers barter goods for sex. UN peacekeepers regularly barter goods for sex with people in the country the world body is meant to be helping, a draft UN report says. The document by the UN Office of Internal Oversight Services says it has found that hundreds of women in Haiti and Liberia have been motivated by hunger and poverty to sell sex. They are paid with cash, jewelry, mobile phones, and other items. The report says 480 sexual exploitation and abuse claims were made in 2008 to 2013. 1/3 of the allegations involved children. And the final story, suicide attack outside Karnak Temple in Egypt. Police in Egypt say they have foiled an attempted suicide bomb attack at the Temple of Karnak in Luxor, one of the country's most popular tourist sites. 3 men reportedly approached a barrier at the entrance of the temple complex yesterday morning. When confronted by police, one of the attackers detonated an explosive belt he was wearing. A second was shot dead and a third severely wounded. 2 civilians and 2 policemen were injured, but no tourists were hurt. That's it for the rest of the African news. Let's go for another quick break and I'll be back with your Nigerian stories.
And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do. But let us encourage one another, especially now that the day of return is drawing nearer. Beloved, are you in Southern Africa and you wish to join the gathering this year of the Redeemed Christian Church of God's National Convention 2015, coming up in August, and don't know how to go about it? Worry no more, for there is a full package to arrange your visa, air tickets, and accommodation for affordable price. Worship the Lord your God, and His blessing will be on your food and water, and He shall take away sickness from among you. Stop listening to people's testimony. Let the world hear your testimony this time, because none shall be barren in the land. For more inquiries and bookings, please call the following numbers: Sanda Nomusakuto +2771 1871443, Baba Tokwe Jide +2783 2625 There will be teaching, preaching, and words of blessings from our Daddy in the Lord, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, who will be ministering alongside with other men of God. We serve a living God. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever.
His name, He alone deserves our highest praise.
Welcome back to Rtm News. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the Nigerian stories. Starting with the headlines, 10 wounded, vehicle damaged as Okada operators Atma clash. 3 kidnappers arrested over death of 11-year-old girl in Ogun, and Lagos asks how low-lying residents to relocate. Starting with the top story, 10 wounded, vehicle damaged as Okada operators Atma clash. No fewer than 10 persons sustained injuries while a pickup van belonging to Anambra Traffic Management Agency was damaged yesterday following a clash between officials of the agency and commercial motorcycle operators, who resisted the former from impounding their motorcycles. The motorcycle operators, otherwise known as Okada riders, had earlier in the day protested efforts by officials of the traffic agency to enforce the restriction ban placed on the operations on major roads in Onitsha and other major cities in the state by the government. Atma officials had as early as 10 a.m. mounted strategic points at major roads in Auka, interdicting the Okada operators and discharging their passengers. In the next story, 3 kidnappers arrested over death of 11-year-old girl in Ogun. Men of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Ogun State have arrested 3 suspected kidnappers for allegedly killing an 11-year-old girl, Aminat Ishola, after kidnapping her from her father's company. The suspects, including Babatunde Aderomu, 21, Shina Damilare, 40, and Taufik Kola, 50, were arrested in connection with the kidnapping and murder of the primary 5 pupil. They reportedly kidnapped the girl at Urugudu Ijoko Ota area of Sango in Adu Odu Ota local government area in the state on May 21st and subsequently moved her to Oshun Jegede Ogbere area of Ibadan in Oyo State, where she was held captive. And in the final story, Lagos asks low-lying residents to relocate. Following the high intensity of rainfall, Lagos State government yesterday advised residents living in the low-lying areas to relocate due to the rising level of water from the rainfall. Permanent Secretary Office of Drainage Services Engineer Ayodeji Edenekan, who gave the advice, said it became necessary for affected residents because of the persistent rain since March, which had led to the rise in water level of the lagoons and rivers as a result of backflow into adjoining low-lying areas. He said he had also led to the inability of the various channels and drains to discharge. That's all the African news I have for you tonight. Let's go for a short break and I'll be back with your international stories. Welcome back to Rtm News. If you're just joining us, we're having a look at the international news. Starting with the headlines, sea change in Catholic sex abuse scandal. Baltimore police officers break silence. Naked selfie blamed for quake, and May rainfall most ever in United States. In the top story, sea change in Catholic sex abuse scandal. Pope Francis has created a church tribunal to judge bishops who failed to protect children from sexually abusive priests. The Vatican announced yesterday a move long sought by abuse victims and their advocates. The new court will be part of the powerful Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, the Catholic Church's chief watchdog. Since 2001, the congregation has judged priests accused of sexual abuse, but there has been no Vatican office with a similar role to judge bishops. Baltimore police officers break silence. 42 people were killed in Baltimore in May, making it the deadliest month there since 1972. When asked what's behind that number, a Baltimore police officer gave an alarming answer. Basically, he said the good guys are letting the bad guys win. He was one of 2 active Baltimore police officers who spoke to CNN about crime in their city. They also touched on the death of Freddie Gray, a young black man who died in police custody, and the riots that followed. Naked selfie blamed for quake. Police in Malaysia have arrested 4 foreigners believed to have been part of a group of tourists who stripped naked at the summit of Mount Kinabalu, according to Bernama, Malaysia's official news agency. The arrested tourists were 2 Canadian brothers, a Dutch woman and a British woman, aged between 20 and 33, said Jalaluddin Abdul Rahman, police commissioner in the eastern Malaysian state of Sabah. The British woman was arrested by police at Tahu Airport on Tuesday as she was about to leave for the capital Kuala Lumpur, Bernama reported. The other 3 turned themselves in on Tuesday evening. A local magistrate's court said they would be held for 4 days until the obscene act that took place on the mountain was investigated. The suspects could face up to 3 months in jail or a fine if convicted. And in the final story, May rainfall most ever in the United States. In some areas of the United States, the rain in May must have felt like it was coming down in biblical proportions. Perhaps it wasn't quite that much, but it did fall in dramatic totals in 20 states and for the country as a whole, US officials said this week. In 121 years of record keeping, never had an average of 4.36 inches of precipitation fallen on the United States. The number was 1.45 inches above the long-term average for the months, the National Centers for Environmental Information said. It beat the old mark by 0.07 inches. 3 states, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas, set record totals for rainfall in May. In Oklahoma and Texas, where flooding killed dozens, precipitation was almost 2 times the average and the most in any other month. That's all the news that I have for you tonight. We're going to go for a short break and I'll be back with your sports update.
House on the Rock, the Gateway, Johannesburg presents Kingdom Economic Summit with a prolific apostle in the marketplace, Ubong King. There is going to be word-based teaching to enhance your financial and spiritual life. Theme: Gold in Eden. Hosts: Jim and Jumoke Bent. Dates: Saturday 13th June 2015 at 5 p.m. and Sunday 14th June 2015 at 10 a.m. Venue: 81 Holt Street, Parkmore, Sandton, Johannesburg, South Africa. For more enquiries and seat reservation, please call us on +27 11 783 5168 or +27 78 315 0097 or email info@houseontherocksa.org and visit our website www.houseontherockng.com/sa. Kingdom Economic Summit, getting balance in your family life, business and ministry. God bless you.
Welcome back to Rtm News. Let's have a look at tonight's sports update. In today's bulletin, in African football news, Swansea sign Andre Ayew. In international football news, US stunned Germany with late goal. And in rugby news, Junior Box beat Australia to reach semi-finals. Here's the latest news in the world of sport tonight. Starting with the latest news making headlines in African football, RTM Sport can confirm that Ghana forward Andre Ayew has joined Swansea City on a free transfer and signed a 4-year contract, the Premier League club announced yesterday. And in international football news, Germany, the world champions, were left stunned yesterday by the USA. The final score was 2-1. And in rugby news, the junior Springboks scored their 3rd consecutive bonus point win in the Under-20 Championships. They won 46-13 to qualify for the semi-finals of the world event. And that's it for the sports tonight. Let's have a look at the weather. the news we have for you tonight here on RTM News from me, Vicky Lee White. I do hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you again tomorrow.